The legendary actor Robert Redford, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood in the 1970s, was also an activist known for his political work and for founding the Sundance Film Festival. On a calm morning, September 16, 2025, the news broke, shocking Hollywood. Robert Redford, a symbol of American cinema, had passed away in his sleep at his home in the Sundance Mountains of Utah. He was 89. The announcement came from Rogers & Cowan, PMK, the agency that had represented him for decades. Only a few short lines were enough to shake the artistic world. No detailed statement, no quotes from doctors or family members. Everything was released with cold precision, as if someone had deliberately chosen silence. That very haste and quietness led the public to question, how could a man who appeared healthy at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival, passionately speaking about cinema and the environment, pass away so silently just 2 years later? According to the Salt Lake Tribune, Redford was found unresponsive around 5:20 a.m. by his private housekeeper in an upstairs room overlooking the pine forest. His family immediately called Dr. Henry Lell, a geriatric specialist in Salt Lake City who had cared for Redford for more than 20 years. When he arrived, he could only confirm one thing: Redford had departed peacefully, probably over an hour earlier. However, no emergency signal was ever logged from the mansion throughout the night of the 15th or early morning of the 16th. The surrounding area remained completely silent. Neighbors never heard an ambulance or police car. That stillness stirred the internet. Some claimed he had passed earlier than stated. Others suspected the family had chosen secrecy to avoid public noise. That same afternoon, major outlets released analyses. Journalist Jake Tapper called it a passing too perfect not to raise questions. Veteran writer Mark Harris from Vanity Fair revisited Redford's final appearances. He had shown up at an environmental conference in New Mexico in May 2025, where he unexpectedly left the stage early, saying he felt lightheaded from the high-altitude air. Organizers said it was minor fatigue, but now, in hindsight, that moment seems like an early warning no one recognized. As the news spread, audiences awaited a fitting farewell for the icon. Yet what followed stunned everyone. Redford's family decided to hold a private cremation on the afternoon of September 20th at a funeral facility in Salt Lake City. Only a few relatives and lifelong friends were allowed to attend. There was no public notice, no memorial service, no photos for the press. Everything took place in complete silence, so quiet that even some longtime colleagues at the Sundance Institute had no idea. That level of secrecy made many wonder, behind the spotlight, how many secrets had Robert Redford kept hidden all along? A week after the media reported that Redford had passed peacefully in his sleep, on September 23, 2025, Variety suddenly published a special feature citing an internal source from the private forensic team, Wilson Carter Lab, which had received his body right after his passing was confirmed. The story spread quickly under the controversial headline, "Redford's Final Hours: What the Body Revealed." According to the report, Dr. Henry Lell, who had monitored Redford's health for more than 20 years, personally signed the provisional death certificate. The brief conclusion read, "Natural causes consistent with age-related cardiovascular decline." But what stirred medical circles were the accompanying notes. The body showed no signs of trauma. The skin tone was even, indicating he had passed during deep sleep, possibly from mild cardiac arrest during a dream-like state. However, the striking detail was that Redford had never been taken to a hospital, nor had any medical team intervened at the time he was found. According to the family's attorney, this was his own wish, to depart at home in complete privacy, without machines or medical devices. An anonymous source who once worked for the Redford family told the Daily Beast that since 2021, his daughter Amy Redford and his partner, Sybil Saggers, had repeatedly encouraged him to wear a medical alert device. Redford firmly refused, saying, "If something ever happens, I want it to happen quietly." Yet that choice sparked debate. Just 72 hours later, the family had already completed all post-mortem procedures. His remains were moved to Heritage Valley Crematory in Salt Lake City on the afternoon of September 19th without requesting any additional autopsy. Though Utah law allows this if the attending physician signs a natural death certification, the online community was abuzz. There was no independent medical report from external doctors or public agencies. On forums, trending posts questioned, why would a star of Redford's stature not have a thorough medical conclusion when so many other legends have? Some believed Redford, who had lived privately all his life, had arranged everything to ensure peace. But others found it unusual that cremation took place so swiftly, just 3 days later, before all forensic paperwork was fully finalized. Adding to the mystery, an old incident from 2010 resurfaced. While filming The Company You Keep in Vancouver, Redford had fainted slightly while stepping off set. At the time, news outlets said he'd merely suffered from heat exhaustion, but now the episode seems like an early sign of circulatory decline. Doctors not directly involved in the case also shared their views. On CBS's Morning Health, Dr. Laura Bernstein, a geriatric cardiologist at Stanford University, commented, "Given the clinical description and his age, it's highly plausible that he experienced a sinus node dysfunction or sudden cardiac arrest without prior symptoms. In physically resilient individuals, such endings can come very quietly." Even more, his sudden departure reignited speculation about Redford's mental and emotional state in his final months. Some bloggers claimed he had changed his sleep habits, often waking up at night to stand on the balcony and look at the stars. A haunting detail, when his housekeeper found him, he was lying on his left side, one hand gently touching the bed frame, resting his head on an open book, a Sand County Almanac, Aldo Leopold's classic work on nature. All that remains is an unanswered question. Did Redford truly leave this world the way he wished, in absolute peace, or was there something deliberately kept hidden until the very end? As the final details of his farewell faded into secrecy, the public began to look back at the quiet, gradual signs of decline. Few would have guessed that behind Robert Redford's confident gaze and graceful demeanor lay a long, silent struggle with illness. While the public saw a steady, iconic figure, those in the medical field who had glimpsed his health records knew his journey carried unspoken scars. In 1947, in Santa Monica, California, 11-year-old Robert Redford contracted poliomyelitis. At that time, the United States had yet to develop a vaccine. Redford was fortunate to avoid an iron lung, but 2 weeks in bed with high fever and mild seizures changed him forever. In a 2004 NPR interview, he once said softly yet hauntingly, "It was mild polio, but it felt like my body gave up on me for a while." Doctors at Santa Monica General Hospital recorded that he showed weakness in his left leg and fatigue in his right arm, symptoms typical of mild polio cases. These effects might have followed him for life, gradually reducing his cardiovascular and muscular endurance with age. Later physicians who had treated Redford revealed that he often took vitamin B supplements and mild vasodilators to aid blood circulation, but he never wanted others to know he was under treatment. Notably, this period also coincided with a family crisis. His mother suffered from severe exhaustion and passed away when he was just 18 years old. The double blow was said to have caused psychological decline in his early adulthood. BBC journalist Tom Broke once recorded a friend's recollection. Robert drank quite a lot back then, not to rebel, but to forget the feeling that his own body had betrayed him. In 1954, a car accident near the Malibu coast nearly took Redford's life. Though he suffered only minor abrasions, a severe impact on his back required 3 months of physical therapy. Experts later suggested the crash damaged his spinal discs and nerves, leaving recurring muscle contractions in his neck and shoulders, a problem Redford always hid through yoga and mountain climbing. During the 2000s, a source reported that Redford had undergone early-stage treatment for a prostate condition in a private medical center in New Mexico. Though never officially confirmed, his sudden withdrawal from public appearances for 8 months in 2011 fueled speculation. A doctor who had collaborated with him on a health awareness campaign revealed he was on hormone medication and low-dose radiation therapy, but insisted on keeping it strictly confidential. After treatment, Redford limited his public appearances, adopted a mostly vegetarian diet, and spent long stretches in the mountains for recovery. Around 2012, people began to notice changes in Redford's appearance. His skin became more sensitive, sun-darkened, and slightly rough. News outlets speculated he was suffering from UV-related skin damage, an after effect of decades filming outdoors. Rumors circulated that he had a small growth removed from his mech in 2013, but Redford's spokesperson tactfully avoided comment. From then on, he was often seen wearing high-collared shirts and wide-brimmed hats, even indoors during interviews. Yet the greatest blow to his emotional health did not come from physical pain, but from family loss. In 2020, his son, filmmaker James Redford, passed away due to a bile duct condition. The tragedy led Robert Redford to withdraw almost entirely from public life. In an article by Peter Bradshaw for The Guardian, the critic described Redford at the funeral as sitting in the last row, eyes empty, gripping his hat tightly, not saying a word. Afterwards, he returned to Utah, cut his schedule completely, and devoted all his time to writing an unfinished memoir. Those illnesses, injuries, and losses were invisible stitches